Hello there and welcome to CNR Extra here on Citi TV, coming to you live from our studios at number 5, Ola Hansen Lane, Tesano, Accra. My name is Philip Latte. Coming up, President Akufo-Addo assures economy will bounce back strong as he delivers the 7th State of the Nation address in Parliament. Also, we bring you the story of lack of doctors and other critical health staff impeding healthcare delivery in the West District of the Upper West region. As well, we'll move on to another story that has to do with the World International Women's Day. And as the world celebrates International Women's Day, some gender activist groups call for the government to expedite the passage of the Affirmative Action Bill. And we'll bring you updates as well on the Heritage Caravan as the patrons of the 2023 Citi FM, Citi TV's Heritage Caravan moved to Sunyani in the Bono region after a fun-filled experience at the Mole National Park. You can as well join us with your thoughts, submissions and comments via WhatsApp line 0204447033, and you can join us on YouTube as we stream there live on CityTube. And this is CNR Extra here on Citi TV. Jude Mensah Duncan, you are welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Philip. Always a pleasure to be here.
Yesterday, actually, we had a number of pointers from the president concerning the State of the Nation address. It touched on a number of things, that the 1D, 1F, the economy. It touched on issues that has to do with the vaccine. It touched on infrastructure, among other things. But you know what? Let's watch what happened in Parliament yesterday when the president went to Parliament to address the House on the State of the Nation. And after that, we'll have more discussion on that. So let's go straight to Parliament for that insert.
The president, because he says government's negotiations with the International Monetary Fund, that's the IMF, is progressing steadily. Nana Akufo-Addo says government should be getting the $3 billion credit facility by close of March 2023. Delivering his 7th State of the Nation address in Parliament today, Nana Akufo-Addo said the economy will bounce back strongly. Citi News' Sami Yafi has more.
President Akufo-Addo began his address with a denial that government misapplied COVID-19 funds as reported by the Auditor General in its report of 2020.
Mr. Speaker, it is precisely because the economic fallout from the pandemic is so widespread and long-lasting that it is important to show clearly that the COVID-19 funds, were not misused. It is critical that we do not lose the confidence of the people that a crisis that they were led to believe we were all in together was abused for personal gain. Mr. Speaker, it was government that asked for the COVID funds to be audited, and I can assure this House that nothing dishonorable was done with the COVID funds. The responses from the Ministers for Health and Finance on January 23rd and 25th, 2023, respectfully, have sufficiently laid to rest the queries from the Auditor General's report. And I believe any objective scrutiny of these statements from the Health and Finance Ministries would justify this conclusion.
On Ghana's engagement with the IMF for a $3 billion balance of payment support, Nana Akufo-Addo says talks are far advanced with the Paris Club for debt cancellation, which remains one of the conditions for the IMF support.
We're also making progress on the external debt negotiations since the government announced an external debt service suspension on 19th December 2022 for certain categories of external debt to ensure an orderly restructuring. This suspension is an interim emergency measure toward a comprehensive external debt operation which will contribute to the restoration of our debt sustainability in line with our request for debt treatment under the G20 Common Framework. I want to express our appreciation to members of the Paris Club and to the People's Republic of China for the cooperation they have so far exhibited to us in attempting to reach an agreement and in their attempt to establish an official credit committee. We look forward to their fast-tracking the needed financing assurances for IMF approval. We are confident that with their cooperation, we will reach our March deadline for going to the fund.
The president also touched on the Good for Oil program introduced by government this year to reduce fuel prices at the pump. Nana Akufo-Addo says the policy has proven to be a good one, which must be sustained.
The gold purchase program by the Bank of Ghana and the Gold for Oil policy are creative uses of our resources, which are already bearing fruit. These policies are aimed at achieving two results that are critical to the health of our economy. Firstly, they'll help us preserve foreign exchange, especially the US dollar. And secondly, they will enable us to stabilize the price of oil products, such as petrol and diesel, on the domestic market. We have already seen some success on both fronts, with the price of US dollars and petroleum products falling since we announced the policy and began to implement it. The average price of petrol at the pump, which had risen to 20 cedis a litre in the middle of December 2022, is now 13 cedis and 80 pesos a litre. The price of diesel had risen to more than 23 cedis and 70 pesos a litre, and is now selling on the average at 13 cedis and 80 pesos a litre, which is a reduction of almost 10 cedis a litre.
On a shortage of childhood vaccines, which has dominated media discussion and frustration among parents, Nana Akufo-Addo says government is in talks with the producers of vaccine and is in a process of procuring more vaccines into the country to address the challenge.
Mr. Speaker, I must say, however, that the current shortage of some childhood vaccines in the country has concerned me greatly. This shortage, if prolonged, will affect negatively Ghana's childhood immunization program, which has been recognized as one of the most successful in the world. The WHO has only recently expressed worry about a steady decline in measles vaccination coverage globally because of the concentration on the fight against COVID-19. In accordance with our desire not to become part of this global trend, government has taken steps to ensure the stocks of these vaccines are procured and supplied as a matter of urgency and emergency. The Ghana Health Service has developed an elaborate program to catch up on children who have missed their vaccine immediately stocks arrive.
President Akufo-Addo concluded his 2023 State of the Nation address with this message to Ghanaians.
Throughout history, there are many instances of nations going through periods where dark clouds create shadows that momentarily shield the yearn for vision from sight. Such moments should not be ones in which despair takes over. Such moments call for strength of character, sense of purpose, and an abiding commitment to the general good. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, fellow Ghanaians, let us believe in ourselves and in our capacity to overcome the problems that are before us. This is a phase, and with every fiber of my being, I am certain that this too shall pass. We have done it before, and we will do it again.
So for President Nana Akufo-Addo, this is really the state of the country Ghana. Reporting from Parliament House, my name is Sami Wiafe.
The President's State of the Nation address received a lot of, backlash or a lot of public reactions after he made mention of some things that the government has done, i.e. very important, that has to do with the COVID-19 funds. And I'm reading from his statement that the president said, Mr. Speaker, let me state emphatically that we have not been reckless in borrowing and spending. It is worth nothing that the debt we are servicing were not only contracted during the period of this administration. Mr. Speaker, we have spent money on things that are urgent, to build roads and bridges, schools, to train our young people and equip them to face a competitive world, considering the amount of work that is still needed to be done in the state of our roads and so on and so forth. But the question that people are asking is that if all these things, the COVID-19 funds, some of them were used for these things, is that something to show? Also, if it has to do with health, it has to do with roads, it has to do with bridges, are these the reason why the COVID-19 funds were given? Wasn't it given out to fight COVID-19 proper, and also for the building of health facilities that the government even came out to say that, okay, they are going to build 111 projects and all those things? Do you think what the president said justifies what the funds have been used for? I
mean, Philip, very legitimate concerns, if you ask me. Listening to the president yesterday, 3 things stood out for me. His comment on the vaccine shortages, of course, his comment on the COVID-19 application of funds, and of course, his refusal to comment on the happenings in Ashaman. I mean, for a president, really, who is really touted to be a human rights lawyer, all the things that happen in Ashaman, that reminds us of a very dark past in our country. I felt he should have come out very strongly to condemn the activities of the soldiers, especially considering the fact that if you look at the structure of the military, civilian authority in the military is the core of our democracy. So any actions really of the military to undermine civilian authority should be condemned, unless, of course, there's the impression that there's the buying of the president in the actions. I don't want to believe that the president in any way endorses or supports the activities that happen there. So I was expecting him to have mentioned it and apologize really to the people of Ashaman for the actions of the military, considering the fact that he's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He didn't do that, so that was quite disappointing for me. On the vaccine shortages, really, I mean, he sought to encourage parents whose children have not been vaccinated to not be in despair in the current circumstances we find ourselves in. But the best assurance he could have done parents and people whose children have not been vaccinated was to give them the impression or give timelines really to when the vaccines are to be expected in the country. That he didn't do. But then again, to rehash some of the things the Minister of Health had said the day before with regards to how routine vaccinations have slowed down as a result of the onslaught of the COVID-19 pandemic. That we had heard from the Finance Minister. So I was expecting him to have come out with some strong timelines. That again, he didn't do with regards to vaccine shortages. Now, this is I think this is where a lot of people have been talking about with regards to his address yesterday. The fact that on COVID-19 report from the Auditor General, I mean, he was pretty much silent in that he mentioned on the face of it that if you look at all that's happening, his government has not been dishonorable in the usage of funds. But when the Auditor General comes to us to tell us that $80 million worth of vaccines bought had not been delivered, that is scandalous, if you ask me. When we understand that out of the 21 million Ghana cedis mobilized for COVID-19 support, ended up in budget funding.
Support, yes.
There
was a chunk of it that was used for budget support.
That is scandalous, and that is corruption staring us in the face. So to sort of push it under the bars, for me, they didn't hold. I expected him to, I mean, at least the very heavy claims from the Auditor General on the COVID-19 funds. I expected the president to have.
So with this, let's take what the minority has to say about the COVID-19 funds that the president also spoke about, that, well, it has not been used recklessly.
The government has expressed disappointment at President Akufo-Addo for denying reports of the misuse of COVID-19 funds. The Auditor General, in its 2020 report on the government's COVID-19 expenditure, revealed that out of the $2.5 billion generated for the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, only 25%, representing 5.5 million cedis, was used for the purpose, with the remaining amount spent on other government policies. However, in his State of the Nation address, President Akufo-Addo says the funds were not dishonorably applied. The Minority Chief Whip, Governor Agboja, in reaction to the comment, took an objection to the position of the President.
Meanwhile, some members of parliament have been expressing varied opinions about the message delivered by President Akufo-Addo in the House.
The president was lamenting just like he's concerned, and so what? Who is not concerned?
So they are going to be
the president should not be lamenting like you and I. The president should be telling and giving us timelines. When is the vaccine coming? You were in the chamber. When is the vaccine coming?
Procured with some emergency.
So what is the meaning of emergency? What's the meaning of soon? What's the meaning? They should be telling us. The president should be telling us that, look, the outbreak, in the first place, we shouldn't have gotten here. We started this vaccine issue as far back in 1977. And we have done, some kind of gains. We've gotten some kind of gains in the area of eradication of these diseases. And somewhere last year, October, we started recording measures in this country. Okay? And it looks like the president doesn't appreciate the sense of urgency. Okay? So for me, I am simply uncomfortable. I am simply disappointed.
We in Ghana are so proud and happy and excited to have a president and a government led by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Contained in his address, touching on energy, health, transport sector, road sector, education, and every aspect of the economy, we have seen the strides we have made, even in the midst of this global crisis. The strides that we in Ghana have made. We sleep in electricity without doomso, and you could have imagined, in time past, either to, if the other group had been in power, what would have been the state of our power sector at the moment. The president also singled out, and mentioned the strides we've made in the education sector. As you see, education investment on the decline trend in many parts of the world after COVID-19 and Russia-Ukraine war. In Ghana, we rather see an increasing trend. We see that investment in education is increasing. We see transformation taking place right from foundational learning. We see infrastructure springing up every day in most communities, even in hard-to-reach areas. We see schools being supplied with textbooks. We have achieved a pre-primary enrollment of 100%. We have been able to ensure the enrollment of 47,000 TVET students who are accessing TVET education at the second cycle level for free.
Said something that cannot be checked. In the first place, he said they built airports. I can ask you, do you know any airport started since 2017 and completed? None. They came to meet the Kumasi airport and are continuing with it. I commend them for that. But that is not an airport actually started and completed by the NPP. The Tamale airport, the same thing. So I don't think the president was factual about that. Yes, they came to continue that project. The only airport they promised is airport in Central Region. You and I know that project. Last week, my very, very good friend, the transport minister, answered the question. He said feasibility is still going on. So they haven't done anything in terms of aviation. I'm somehow extremely disappointed in the president, though. The president once again sought to even clear members of his government who are suspected of doing wrong things in the COVID expenditure. It doesn't lie in the mouth of the president to decide to become an auditor of his own government by pretending that nothing went wrong with the COVID expenditure. Mr. President, what about the DCE in the northern region?
The revenues that we have been taking, the loans that we have taken, we have not actually made bad use of them, including railways, roads, schools, hospitals. He stated all those things. But the most important factor that I realized was his statement was somehow reunifying the people, reuniting us as a people. In times such as this, you need cohesion.
Reporting from Parliament, my name is Ni Ayukwe Okan.
So mixed reactions there. Some of the MPs from the NDC side commenting, and also MPs from the NPP side commenting, and also Akando made mention of the same thing you said, that the president should have given timelines on when the childhood vaccines will be received. But mind you, definitely the health minister will be in Parliament, and like you stated here, Parliament will be pushing further to get all the updates from the health minister. But with the issue of the COVID-19 vaccines, and also that has to do with the childhood vaccines, a number of things, it looks like things didn't really sit down well with some of the members of Parliament.
The Auditor General came out and told us that $80 million worth of vaccines procured had not been delivered into the country. And we have a president telling us that nothing dishonorable had happened with regards to the use of COVID-19 funds. So for me, there's that kind of lacune, there's that kind of, it doesn't add up. And to be fair, Philip, it wasn't all gloom in the president's address to the nation yesterday. For instance, there were some positives and highlights. He talked about the fact that the Afri-Exim loan facility has been secured. So depending on which side you belong to, it's a loan, but I mean, it's going to help in pushing our economy. So that was something to look forward to. He talked about government's digitization efforts at the ports, at our hospital, to make the process there simpler and smooth. So that was also something to look forward to in that regard. And of course, if you look at it, in every State of the Nation address, at least with this government, in the past 2 or 3 years, the only thing that keeps on improving in terms of the numbers has got to do with government's year of return initiative. So every year you realize that we are making some significant gains to tourists who are coming into the country to partake in some of our activities here. And they bring in remittances, they bring in money, which go a long way to helping our economy. So that also had some significant push. So it wasn't all gloom, only that for the issues such as the COVID-19 use of funds, I wasn't too excited. And if you go back to other issues where he talked about government's flagship one district, one factory. Yes. I mean, if you go through the 2022 budget State of the Nation address, the numbers, the figures he gave with regards to the
operational one was 106, and also the one under construction was 148.
It was same. So, I mean, in 2022, for instance, he talked about the fact that 24 factories were at mobilization stages. He didn't mention it in 2023. Doesn't mean that in a year the various factories at different stages of completion have not, like, so these are some of the concerns really. And I didn't hear the president talk more on that. He talked about the fact that the government was working to secure our borders. That was good to hear. But I think if you ask the ordinary Ghanaian, the issues that are very dear to them, very pertinent to them, I believe that how public officials use public funds is something that should be of great concern to the ordinary Ghanaian. And the president didn't touch on it as much as personally I would have expected. So
well,
that was just preliminary.
As the days go by, we'll still be getting more reaction on this particular State of the Nation address, the 2023 edition that the president made mention of at Parliament yesterday. The president also spoke about road infrastructure and all that. 2020 year of roads, 2021 year of roads, 2022 year of roads, and 2023 the sector minister has declared this as action year of roads, and that's the president stated that COVID-19 funds have been put into more road constructions. Away from that, let's bring you some more stories, and let's go to Asherman, where CAM has returned to Asherman Taifa after armed soldiers invaded the area.
CAM has returned to Asherman Taifa after armed soldiers invaded the area and brutalized residents following the killing of their colleague. The military has to justify the action, but the move has been widely criticized by a section of Ghanaians. We have more in this report.
The situation is relatively calm now, except a very few people who are still traumatized by what happened yesterday. I would say everything has returned to normalcy. You know that the issue was discussed on various platforms yesterday, both radio and on TV. So the situation is calm now, and everybody's going about his or her duties.
The atmosphere at Asherman Taifa, as narrated by a resident, is in a sharp contrast to the brutal scenes yesterday, where military helicopters, armored vehicles and scores of armed soldiers were filmed brutalizing citizens in search of killers of 22-year-old trooper Sheriff Imoro. Life is returning to normalcy in Asherman Taifa, but the trauma residents suffered remains, just as is the pains of the family of the deceased. The Ghana Armed Forces, in a statement signed by Brigadier General Agri-Kwashi, justify the brutal attacks on the residents, many of whom say they were only hearing of the killing of the soldier for the first time. While admitting the operation was sanctioned by the military high command, the statement says the operation was not to avenge the killing of the soldier, but to fish out perpetrators of the killing of Trooper Sheriff Imoro. It says 184 suspects between ages 21 and 47 years old have been picked up by the military and handed over to the military police. They are to be sent to the police later for action. The Ghana Armed Forces indicates that the operation was an intelligence-led one. It describes the brutalization of innocent citizens as regrettable. But for the executive director of the African Center for Security and Counterterrorism, the operation was unprofessional. It is also calling on the president to fire the Deputy Defense Minister, Kofi Amankwa-Menu. He tells Citi News why.
The Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces is the sitting president of our republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. But sorry to say, my brother, that a whole Deputy Minister of Defense have come out to say that they are not sorry over what has happened. Are we turning our democracy upside down? Power resides in the people. Who gives the president the power or the authority is wielding as the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces? Is it not the people? So if the Commander-in-Chief really means well to the good people of this country, the Deputy Minister of Defense should be fired.
The Ghana police is yet to comment on the development.
The actions by the military have been condemned by many, including the former president of the Republic, that is John Dramani Mahama, who has extended his condolences to the family of the murdered military officer at Ashaman, Sheriff Imoro, and the Ghana Armed Forces. In the statement, he stated that, "I'm deeply saddened by the death of one of our soldiers at a young age in Ashaman. Lorina and I extend our deepest condolences to the bereaved and grieving family, the officers and the men of the Ghana Armed Forces." And the statement further went on to call on government to step in and address the situation between Ashaman residents and the Ghana Armed Forces, and thus called for compensation for all persons affected. You were also asking that at least the President Akufo-Addo, should have said a word or two.
He should have apologized. He should have apologized as Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces to the residents of Ashaman. I mean, can you imagine that you wake up one morning, you are going to visit a friend, and if you've been rounded up because you're in Ashaman? I mean, it doesn't add up. For me, I've been saying that if you followed recent security happenings in our country, you wouldn't be too surprised with what we saw in Ashaman. For me, in the past, happenings like what happened in the Jura, Techiman South Coalition Center, and Parliament on the night of the election of the Speaker of Parliament sort of have became the permission structure for what we saw in Ashaman. I mean, we didn't condemn it that much. People did at the time, but we didn't appreciate the seriousness of the issue. And for me, I was in Parliament on the night of the swearing-in of the Speaker of Parliament, and if you saw the way soldiers with guns entered into the chamber trying to resist the minority or the NDC caucus at the time, all of that mental picture, really, if you take your mind back to it, you wouldn't be too surprised with what's happening in Ashaman. If it happened in an institution like Parliament, they can only imagine what would have happened in Ashaman. And we saw the videos. It's unfortunate. We should condemn it in very certain terms. We shouldn't be seen to be condoning some of these things because of the fact that it reminds us of a very dark past in this country's history where we've all resolved as a people not to go back to again. We have the rule of law. We should stick to it. In matters like this, you expect the police to be up and doing and not the military trying to take the law into their own hands.
Well, the police is here to comment about it, but a group that calls itself Ashaman Life Matters, they are also demanding that compensation should be given to the victims. But also updates on this particular story indicates that 150 Ashaman residents picked up by the military, they have been released. Before that, the member of parliament for the area, Ns Nokbe, he noted that as to the whereabouts of these residents was nowhere, but it looks like they've been released. And all what the issue has been about is for government to wade into the issue and address it.
So what was the point in the first place? And like I'm saying to you, somebody probably went to visit their girlfriend in Ashaman, and by the next minute he was rounded up because he was believed to be a criminal. We don't want some of these things happening in a democracy. So government, the military should go back to the drawing board and make sure that some of these things don't repeat itself again. And of course, it's important that we condemn in very high terms the killing of the military officer. That was gruesome, and that shouldn't be condoned or entertained in any form.
But the good news is calm has returned to Ashaman, so businesses, students, and everyone is going about his or her day-to-day activities. This is still CNR Extra here on Citi TV. My name is Philip Nihlate. You can join us with your thoughts, submissions, and comments via WhatsApp line 0204 447033. Still to come. Lack of doctors and other critical health staff impeding healthcare delivery in Wa East District of the Upper West Region. Stay with us. We'll be back with more stories.
Plus is a fully skimmed evaporated milk. Creamy Plus is available in a shop near you.
This message has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
You're welcome back from that break, and let's take you to the Upper West region, where doctors and other critical health staff that are not accepting postings or aren't in the area is impeding healthcare delivery.
Well, the lack of doctors and other critical health staff is impeding healthcare delivery in the Wa East District of the Upper West region. The district, which has over 93,000 inhabitants, has been operating without a resident doctor since its creation in 2004. Doctors posted to the district have over the years declined to work in the area, compelling the residents to travel far distances to other districts to access critical health care services. Now, Citi News' Latif Mahama visited the area and filed this report.
Article 36, Clause 3 of the 1992 Constitution makes it an obligation of the state to prioritize the health needs of Ghanaians by stipulating that all citizens are protected by the state on health. This means that the right to health as a social fundamental right must be guaranteed and enjoyed by all citizens. However, it appears residents of the Wa East District in the extreme north of Ghana are missing this right. Plagued by extreme poverty levels amidst lack of basic social amenities, the greatest challenge for most inhabitants is how to access proper healthcare services. The over 93,000 inhabitants can only resort to some 10 health centers and CHIPS compounds dotted in the hinterlands to address their health needs because there is no hospital or doctor in the district except the District Director of Health Services, who sometimes sacrifices his administrative roles to attend to patients. His role as a doctor is even impeded as there is no single theater or laboratory to enhance his operations. Addressing various stakeholders on their 2022 Holistic Annual Health Review at Bulenga, the district director called for stringent measures to get doctors to the Wa East.
At a district like us, with a population of a little over 94,000, is having just one doctor. I should say half a doctor, because I am the only doctor attending to all these people within the district. So we will urgently need a doctor to be posted to us.
He narrated a harrowing experience he encountered at the Bulenga Health Center, where a pregnant woman on referral to Wa died with her baby due to the lack of a theater.
From Dusie to Bulenga, it's not quite far, but per the nature of the roads, the ambulance also got to the health center very late. Should I say fortunately or unfortunately, this was the time where I was going on my familiarization tour because I was just newly transferred to the district from Wa Municipal. In the middle of my interaction with the staff at the staff deba, when the case came in, I got a call from the attending midwife, for which I had to leave to attend to this case. Upon getting there, myself and my team realized that the case needed urgent surgical intervention. And so we had to call Wa Municipal Hospital to start preparing their theater whilst we joined the ambulance en route to Wa Municipal Hospital. Amidst the dangling in the ambulance on our bad road network, the woman arrested. And when I say arrested, the woman stopped breathing.
The lack of doctors in the Wa East district has put undue stress on a few of the existing health facilities.
Behind me is the Bulenga Health Center. This health facility serves as a major referral center for over 32 communities in the northwestern part of the Wa East district due to the lack of a hospital or a polyclinic in the district.
We are surrounded by a number of sub-districts, and we are almost like we are in the center. So other sub-districts, Kundugu, Yala, Holomuni, Logo, they all refer their cases to this facility. The pressure, it has to do with the facilities. But right now, currently, we are a health center. And if the facility was converted or upgraded to a polyclinic comes with several facilities by way of space, admission spaces, other laboratory services, equipment, and even the cadre of staffs that will be posted to a polyclinic will be upgraded as compared to a health center.
Residents who appear to be bearing the brunt of the lack of doctor situation in the Wa East district are appealing to the government to urgently address the issue.
The plight of these residents adds up to the over 93,000 inhabitants of the Wa East who travel from far to rich communities such as Kulum, Yanyombe, Kulpong, Kende, Palwako, and other overseas villages before they can access the services of a doctor. Dr. Damien Punguyure is the Upper West Regional Director of Health Services.
It is the only district out of the 11 districts that currently do not have a health facility, a polyclinic or a hospital. And a doctor needs to work in at least a polyclinic where you have access to theater and other ancillary services like laboratory space and personnel and so on. And so currently what the district director, who is a medical doctor, has been sent there to do is to work with the district stakeholders to upgrade one of the health centers into a status of a polyclinic where we can now assign a full-time doctor to the district.
Access to good quality health care is enshrined in the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. But it appears residents here in the Wild East District of the Upper West region are missing this right due to the lack of doctors and health facilities here in the district. They are thus appealing to the government for urgent intervention to ameliorate the situation. Reporting for Citi News, my name is Latif Mahama. Bulenga.
Lack of doctors in the Wa East District, but Ghana is 66 years old. It's sad because if you are having lack of doctors, and from the report it's been stated in the social amenities here and there, arranged there, and just here, Caleb Kuda filed a report on the exodus of health care practitioners who are moving to other countries for greener pastures and all that. What is stopping the country from keeping these people and also trying to find ways and means to create a better condition for the workers, i.e. the nurses, for the doctors, for them to accept postings or go to these kind of places and save lives?
I mean, it's a trend that is not peculiar to Ghana. I mean, in the Africa region, it's quite common in countries with very poor standard of living. But you see, in the Upper West, like the report just told us, it's a very serious trend. And now we understand that even indigents who become trained doctors refuse posting to the area. For me, I think government needs to take this up very seriously. We've called for the use of some sort of incentive process to get these people or these doctors to go into some of these remote areas. And to be fair, you can understand why a doctor would refuse posting into such an area because of the conditions over there. So we've said that let's use the equality principle and even try and go a step further and see if we can incentivize some of these people. A little tip here, a little token here, a little salary increment here, and let's see how we can fix this
Someone
problem.
may be passionate about the job, but after passion
Definitely.
is survival.
Because
I would say this, if you don't have money in your pocket, how then will you go to a particular place and go and stay? And if the condition there isn't conducive enough for the person to work, the person will not work.
You can't really fault them. I was reading the doctor-to-patient ratio in the Upper West region in somewhere 2019. It was 1 doctor to 13,000 people. Now you understand it's 1 doctor to 17,000 people.
And it keeps increasing.
And it keeps increasing with no end in sight. So the Minister of Health really, I mean, we've been on this case quite recently, but the truth of the matter is that there are a lot of problems in this ministry.
Yeah.
And for some people and some public commentators, they've opined that he's not been seen to be on top of issues.
But if not even the minister, it's been something that keeps happening, and the more it keeps going on, it keeps compounding and becomes a bigger issue.
You should have a plan for this, really. And the plan, or one of the ways to go about it, is to incentivize people, incentivize the doctors, and not necessarily only doctors, but health workers in general. And I believe that if we go that way, we should be able to see some progress. But in the long run, we need to improve across board our health infrastructure, health conditions in the country.
The health sector needs deliverance, actually. So it has to be delivered.
It needs deliverance.
Yes, it needs deliverance.
I like
so let's move away from this one and let's go to another story. But before that, let's go for a break. After this break, we'll bring you this story. And patrons of the 2023 Citi FM and Citi TV's Heritage Caravan moved to Sunyani in the Bono region after a fun-filled experience at the Mole National Park. Stay with us, we'll be back with that story.
Get ready to experience a night like never before with Ahima Messi, Kofi Osipipra, PSC Esther, Ankalato, Ella Duncan Williams, and your host MOG. Also ministering Keepers Music and Liberty Voices Choir as MOG Music presents New Wine Concert. Theme: The Coming Glory, on Sunday the 19th of March 2023 at the Oil Dome Royal House Chapel Ahimfie. Time 5 p.m. Rate 200 Ghana Cedis VIP. Gallery Standard 40 Ghana Cedis. Gallery Double 70 Ghana Cedis. Regular Standard 80 Ghana Cedis. Regular Double 150 Ghana Cedis. Visit www.tickets.newwineconcert.com or dial *389*777# to purchase your tickets. Sponsors: Oduma, Bell Beverages, Bell Aqua, Total Family Health Organization, First Choice Hair and Beauty Salon, Tank Palace, DDP, eTransact, Oasis Studios. Media partners. For more information, call 0500 053 881.
Citi TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access Citi TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a news search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access Citi TV on your television. Citi TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. Citi TV, it's your world.
You're welcome back, and let's bring you the excitement that the Caravanites are enjoying on the Heritage Caravan. And they moved from other places and they went to the Mole National Park, where they took their turns on the safari. And that has to do with day 5 on the Caravan. Let's bring you that inset.
And day 5 of Citi TV and Citi FM's Heritage Caravan has been filled with a lot of excitement and adventure after patrons took turns on a safari at the Mole National Park to catch a glimpse of elephants and other animals for the first time. The biggest game reserve in Ghana hosted over 100 patrons in a delightful viewing experience of elephants and other animals in the park. Now, the caravan is now in Sunyani in the Bono region, where patrons will be treated to a party. But the patrons earlier spoke to Citi News about their experiences so far.
It is day 5 on Citi FMC TV's Heritage Caravan, and we took off from Tamale this morning, and we've done about 3 hours. And our next stop is the Mole National Park, the biggest game reserve in Ghana, located within the Savannah region. And from here, our main destination is Sunyani. But before then, let's speak to the one in charge of this particular game reserve to share some insight with our patrons.
Besides the normal safaris here that tourists can go and do, we have the Eco Village, Mognore Eco Village, where we have the canoe safari. You can go there, we take you on the Mole River along the canoe. While you are enjoying the canoe, you watch nature, different variety species of birds. Some monkeys will be around, crocodiles. So this is some of the likelihood animals that you might be seeing. Too much noise in the field is not allowed, because our interest is to see nature and to enjoy nature. So when we are in the field and we are making noise, we scare them. And when they are scared, there are 2 things involved. Remember, these are wild animals in their natural habitat. They are not domesticated. So when they got scared, either they attack or they run away. So imagine our numbers. If an elephant is chasing you, can we all escape? So please try as much as possible to minimize your thoughts when you are in the field. You can ask the questions from the guide, but please do it in a very low voice so that we don't scare the animal.
Let's now connect with the senior ranger, or one of the rangers here at the Mole National Park, Abu Idisa, to give us some brief background about what.
And I can tell you for a fact, the excitement on the Heritage Caravan, let's say train, is very interesting. And you have to be there next year. Well, the Caravanites are on their way to a travel in the Western region to continue with activities to mark the 2023 Heritage Caravan. Kweku Diamansa is on the line. Kweku, what do you have to say about this? How is the excitement? I always say that I'm just envying you. You're just having too much fun. You're having to. What is happening there? Tell us more.
Well, sure, Philip, exactly. The fun has been on since the very first day the caravan started. Today being, left with just 2 days to end the trip. People are still enjoying themselves. Remember that education is also going on, especially at the various places that we have visited. Just yesterday, the whole team was at the Mole National Park, where we had the chance to get closer to live animals that, they are not really common to find in the various places that we stay, like the elephants, the crocodiles, the bamboos and other animals. So that got a lot of the patrons excited. That was yesterday. We moved from then we got to Sunyani yesterday or last night, where we're treated to some welcome by the Uzbek hotel. It was also great there. And for patrons, it's one of the very best places that they have visited and would have wished to even stay more. But we are en route to the Western region, precisely at Achabo, where we will be lodging at the Mahab Beach Resort. And you know that this very evening we will be having a formal dinner. And so you see the patrons dressed formally to come for their dinner tonight. And this happens just once on the caravan. And so we're still en route the Western region. We passed them, of course, some 15 to 20 minutes ago. And we'll be using the route past Takwa and get to the Western region, hopefully in the next 7 hours. And so it's going to be a long drive from Sunyani to the Western region. And so we are still on the bus. With the bus I'm currently on is bus 2, and the sponsors, one of the sponsors, that is Holland Insurance, is on the bus because today's activities is probably sponsored by Holland.
Just a brief one on that.
Yes, and so they are currently on the bus, educating people on the need to get insured and all of that. And so that is happening on the various buses because today has been specially dedicated to one of our sponsors, that is Holland Insurance.
Thank you so much, Kweku Diamansa. Keep enjoying yourself there on the Heritage Caravan. And I always say that we are here, we are not part of the caravan. We can join on TV, on Citi FM and Citi TV, as we also feel the experience. But next year, dear,
we'll do the show
we have to
on the caravan.
What do you have to say about the excitement there?
It's surreal, really. Look at the pictures, you look at the videos, you can clearly tell it's worth the experience. Looking at everything that has happened from the very day they converged there for departure, I knew it was going to be
a lot of fun.
And I'm not surprised with the stories that's coming out from the place and the feel of Ghana. Really, I believe for quite a number of people on the caravan, they've not had the experience to travel the whole country in a manner like the caravan provides. So I think it's second to none. I commend leadership here for this great initiative, and hopefully next time to be at
we have to go. So keep saving your money, and next year you have to join the caravan and have more excitement on the caravan. Well, this is how we end today's edition of CNR Extra here on Citi TV. My name is Philip Nihlata. I did this with Jude Mensah. Many thanks for your time and keep watching Citi TV.